Hello and welcome to the Heat Check Miami Herald's Miami Heat Show. I'm David Wilson and I'm joined, as always, on the other line from inside the Kaseya Center. It's Anthony Chang, our Heat beat writer here at the Herald. Anthony, what's going on? Huge win for the Heat tonight.
It is, and box scores and game notes are being printed behind me. This is exciting stuff. Yeah, this was one of the Heat's better wins of the season.
Yeah.
Not only because obviously it was a big one considering the Heat's place in the standings, but they haven't really had many wins over good teams this season. We've talked about that a lot.
One of the biggest things we've talked about all year.
Yeah.
This team is.
Yeah.
They've done, for the most part, they've taken care of the bad teams. Less so lately than early in the year, but. They're at 42 wins because of that. But tonight, we're talking, we should say Tuesday night, Heat beat the Knicks 109-99. Tried to do everything in their power to blow it, but a bunch of clutch plays down the stretch. Terry Rozier with his best game in a Heat uniform so far. And yeah, like you said, most importantly, this is a team that has not had a lot of, the Knicks are not one of the top 5 teams in the league. It was a home game. It wasn't like, A plus, like you beat the Nuggets on the road or Celtics anywhere, but it's way up there in terms of quality wins that you can get in the league this year, and certainly on the scale the Heat have been. We've kind of been judging the Heat on.
Yeah, and yeah, you can point to the Knicks didn't have Julius Randle and OG, but still, the Knicks have been playing really good basketball.
Yeah.
They've lost 3 straight, but before that, I think they were like 8-2 in their last 10 or something like that. So they've been playing good basketball. They're one of the top teams in the East, still 4th or 5th place in the conference. So it was a good win. And they did it with really their formula that has worked for them for the past 4 years, 5 years since Jimmy got here. Defense, which holding the Knicks at 99 points, and then also shooting better than 40% on threes. When the Heat do that, I know they almost threw this game away, but when the Heat do that, they don't lose many times.
Right.
They shot 44.7% on threes on 38 attempts, which is very good. And then you hold a quality Knicks offense. This Knicks offense is top 10 to 99 points and making life really tough for Jalen Brunson, who scored, 20 points and 18 shots? Can't do much better than that on Jalen Brunson. So I think tonight was a snapshot of like how the Heat want to win games this postseason. And, that formula was on display tonight.
Yeah, 3 straight wins now for the Heat. Only their 3rd 3-game winning streak of the calendar year. So it's been obviously spotty basically since the calendar flipped to 2024. But playing, much better basketball kind of late. They've won, I think, 7 of their last 10 now. I think you are... Again, we're talking about, we're reacting to one game primarily right now, but you mentioned the idea that this is kind of like a snapshot of what they want to be. And I think I heard you post game saying, I think they're top 5 in defensive rating now. That trend that we talked about, I can't remember last week or the week before, they've been steadily climbing up, and now this stretch, which is probably the best stretch of basketball they've played since the All-Star break, over the last 10 games or so, does feel like they are figuring the identity out, which was, it was hard to do with some of the, they obviously a lot of roster turnover around the trade deadline and the All-Star break. With so many guys in and out of the lineup. But they found that formula, it feels like, over the last 10 games or so here. Hold the Knicks to 99 tonight. The Blazers are terrible, but they held the Blazers to 82 a few nights ago, held the Cavs to 84, obviously, and that another win that would be on that short list of their most impressive wins of the year. They haven't, other than, they haven't really... They haven't given up like 115 even in a long time, which, I know that's not like 115 is not like a crazy impressive number, but considering what it was like at times early in the year where it was like, felt like once every week or two, they would give up 120, 125. There's that stretch against the Pacers where they gave up like 140. It felt like 3 times in a week. they've hit that level of consistency on defense. You know, they held the Nuggets to 100, right, in that loss. So they've hit that level of consistency on defense I think you were looking for all year long. And then first, I guess the defense, but then we should also talk about Terry Rozier, who is, obviously played his best game as a Heat tonight, but you saw the kind of dimension that he can add when this team's defense is going, and they just need to find like one or two guys on any night who can give them offense.
Yeah, to your point about the defense, I mean, I think they're now 12-1, I believe, 13-1 when holding a team under 100 points. Mm-hmm. Again, most teams are going to win when they hold a team under 100 points, but it kind of shows you. I mean, they've 14 games now.
That's a lot. I don't know what the number would be across the league, but
that's a lot. The Heat played a slow pace, so that helps, but that's good defense too. They're 18-10 since the 7-game losing streak. They're the second best defense in the NBA during that stretch. Mm-hmm. Considering where they were during that 7-game losing streak, and I remember you and I having conversations, especially me saying, like, I don't know if this team has the personnel to have a top 10 defense. I was wrong because they found a way to be a top 2 defense since then. And some of that's Spo just kind of coaching his way to that with all the zone, full court press, like all the defensive schemes he throws out. But some of it's also just like, I mean, they had a lineup out there tonight like Caleb Martin, Haywood Highsmith, Bam, Jimmy, and Terry Rozier.
It just feels totally different when you have Caleb and Jimmy, and Bam has been out there. I don't know what his games played is right now, but he's out there.
He's 64 now.
Yeah, he's been out there pretty much every night. But Jimmy and Caleb, I mean, Caleb at the
end
of the
Haywood's game, great on defense.
And Haywood too, yeah. But those Caleb and Jimmy especially are like two guys that have missed a lot of times. Caleb's missed long stretches. Jimmy's been his typical like sporadic self, but I don't remember the exact lineup they had out there at the end of the game, but it was Bam, Jimmy, Caleb, Haywood.
I
guess
I think Terry.
Like that's pretty. I mean, Terry was obviously not a great defensive player, but like
it's not a bad one though.
Yeah, he's not bad. He's a point guard, so it's like the least important defensive spot on the floor. And then those other 4 guys are all like, Bam is a top 5 defender in the league. Jimmy is top, 10 or 15, and Haywood's is as good like a role player defensive guy as you have. And then Caleb Martin obviously is up there too. Like there was a lot of length. You could just feel that length, that athleticism, mobility. When they needed stops down the stretch, the Heat, I think it was a 10-0 run the Knicks ripped off there at one point.
12-0 run.
12-0 run, and I think it got to 2, and then the Heat basically just didn't let them score the rest of the night, and were able to pull away. And you felt, they were kind of smothering when you've got those 4 guys out there.
Yeah, they have that personnel to throw a lineup out there.
I can't imagine they played a lot of minutes together this year either. Those 4.
Probably not, considering how many guys have been in other lineup. Yeah, I would imagine no lineup has played really many minutes together at this point for them this season. But the defense continues to be the story. I know Terry Rozier made a lot of tough shots.
Yeah,
he's playing very well. This is the best he's played in Heat uniform these last 3 games. You can just see his shot making ability, but he's not going to shoot 8 of 11. On threes every night. That's just not going to happen. If not, he would be Steph Curry. But that defense has been kind of the reliable aspect of this team's game, their identity. It's been top 2 for 2 months now, pretty much. So as long as they have that, they're going to be okay. Especially if Jimmy can turn it up a notch in the playoffs. He didn't play very well tonight. He had 17 points on 12 shots. Not like a great Jimmy game, but he did enough. To me, the most encouraging thing from tonight is, yes, Terry's had a great game. That's good that he's kind of feeling comfortable in the offense. He's getting more confidence to kind of put up more shots and more threes. But the defense is the story to me still, because that's what's going to kind of be the center of the winning formula. During this however long the postseason run lasts, like that's how they're going to win games.
Quickly, Terry Rozier, as you said, probably his bet. These last 3 games are maybe straight up like the 3 best games he's played with the Heat. How much of this is just him getting more comfortable? How much of it is just a random hot streak for a guy who certainly can get hot, and that's I mean, as a part of the playoffs, is just you hope your like fourth or fifth best guy gets kind of crazy hot at the right time. Are you seeing anything from Rozier in the last week here that's maybe different? Anything that the Heat can sustain maybe off of what he's done?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's making shots, right? That's
Yeah.
number one. And some of that, again, is just getting hot. Could be a streaky player, right? We've seen him go through a big slump
Right.
when he got here. Now he's hitting most of his, he's shooting like, what is it, 13, 19 of 32 on threes in the last 3 games, which is kind of insane. That's like 60% on threes on high volume the last 3 games. So again, that's not going to continue, right? But it's just encouraging kind of to see his impact on the offense, what he could do when he gets hot. But the one thing I'll point out that's been different these last 3 games is just the 3-point volume. He had not had a double-digit 3-point attempt game since joining the Heat. He's now had 3 straight games with double-digit 3-point attempts, 10, 11, and 11. I know that's been an emphasis, right? Because he is kind of a guy who likes the mid-range, takes some long twos, and I think the coaching staff has kind of been trying to work with him of like, maybe you're not going to eliminate all of them because that's kind of your game, but can you turn 2 of those, 3 of those into a 3? And we've seen that over the last 3 games, and it's worked for him. I mean, again, he's hitting his 3, so that helps. But it's also helped him score a few more points because they're worth 3 points and not 2 points. And you've seen him score over 20 points on 3 straight games. So I think that is something to watch, just the 3-point attempts going up. And I'm sure that he will want him to continue to shoot. Maybe not 10 a game, but if he can get to 8, 9 regularly, that's what Eric Spoelstra wants.
Yeah. I know one of the things we talked about when the Heat first got him in a concern is that that he relies so heavily on mid-range. I think just shooting threes is going to make it easier for him too because it makes the spacing better for everyone. But, Jimmy and like the Heat have a lot of guys, as we said, who operate in that mid-range. And that's one of the concerns we had. There's just more. It's a logical fit for the roster, but also probably just for him to push that range out a little bit where there's just going to be more space to operate.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's kind of been the emphasis of most guys. Like you've seen Jimmy take more threes. You've seen Tyler.
Right, yeah, that's
before
true.
he got one out, like trying to take more threes. Bam, taking more threes. Like this team needs to get 3-pointers up, especially when Tyler Hero's out, right? When you're, high volume guys, they need to come from somewhere, and Terry has been providing that. 11 of his 15 shots against the Knicks were threes. 11 of his 19 shots against the Wizards on Sunday were threes, and then 10 of his 17 shots against the Blazers were threes. That is a ratio I think the Heat want from him. Consider, when we talk about a shot diet.
We should talk about this episode will go up on Thursday, and the Heat have, I don't know, maybe
kind of
the biggest game of the year.
Kind of big game. Until tonight, Sunday against the Pacers.
On Thursday night, I guess we got 2 huge ones down the stretch here, but Thursday night in particular is a really big one. Heat Sixers at the Kaseya Center. Joel Embiid will be, assuming he played tonight, I guess, right? Was that game tonight?
Yeah,
played tonight. Assuming he's all clear after this game, he'll be back on the court for his second game back from injury. These 2 teams, we've had them spotlighted for a while as part of this race for the 6th seed, race to at least get the 7 and have that double home court advantage potentially in the play-in. What do you have your eye on other than the obvious huge winner kind of, I don't want to say winner takes all, but winners and
kind of
it's a huge pole position advantage.
Yeah, for the Heat at least, because the Heat are a game and a half up on Philly right now. They win on Thursday. They'll be you get
a chance to really bury them.
Yeah.
You'll be up 2.5 games with
the tiebreaker. So really
the tiebreaker and 6 games to play after it or something like that?
6 games to play, 3 up on the loss column with the tiebreaker.
You have a real chance to kind of bury them.
Yeah, you pretty much at least seal the 7th spot at that point. It is a big game, right? I mean, this Knicks win is great. Like we said, it's one of the biggest wins of the season, but it really doesn't mean much if they lay an egg against Philly or lay an egg against Indy. They don't really have much margin for error during these final 2 weeks. They put themselves in this position where they got to win probably at least 6 out of the 8, including tonight. So now 5 out of the last 7 to really probably get to that 6th spot, including Sunday's game against Indiana. Like, that's a must win. So tonight was a good start to a really important week for this team. But this Philly game, especially now with Embiid back, it's not going to be easy. I could not believe that Embiid played 29 minutes in his first game back in like 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
I did not. He had 24 points, 12 free throw attempts, 7 assists in 29 minutes. So
and they beat the Thunder.
And they beat the Thunder, right? And Maxey did not play. So for those wondering what Embiid would look like when he got back, it's only one game, but if one game is any indication, he looks pretty good. So that's not gonna be an easy one. And if you do, that kind of puts more importance on finishing 6th, because if you finish 7th, and you have to face Philly in that first playing game, even though it's in Miami, that is not a normal playing team. I mean, probably Miami and Philly aren't normal.
I know, it's funny. I was gonna say, like, the East. Obviously, a big story has been that the top of the East seems to be so much better than it's been in a long time. With the Celtics and Bucks, obviously, and the Knicks taking a huge step forward. That middle tier, that like Cavs, Magic, Knicks, like I think are all pretty interesting to people. And then, I guess like Celtics, Bucks are a cut above everyone else. And if you're, they should feel pretty confident against the Heat or the Sixers if they get them. But it's those are going to be maybe like the toughest series of the first round. You have the Celtics and Bucks, like. Got to think they'd rather play the Pacers or like a young Magic team that's never.
Or even the
Magic,
playoffs. Right? Yeah. Sure. No, that's not an ideal matchup if you're 1 or 2. Number 2, like, probably facing, if it's Miami, Philly in that first play-in game, like probably facing one of those teams, like Boston's facing either Philly or Miami in the first round. Good luck. I mean, yeah, Boston's gonna be favored in that matchup, but that's not an easy first round matchup for a 1 seed. But yeah, to get back to like Thursday's game, that's a huge one. I mean, every game down the stretch is big, but especially the ones against Philly, one against Indy on Sunday and Indianapolis, will help determine the tiebreakers. Will obviously help determine who's in the sixth spot. Right now, Indy has a 1 game. Is it 1.5 or?
They're a half game up now, but they play
as of
night,
Tuesday.
So,
right? Yeah. Wednesday night. I think they play Toronto. So
at Brooklyn. So.
At Brooklyn. So, but still, that's we'll see what happens.
They should win.
The game they should win. So, yes, it's going to come down. I would think by the end of the week we will know. Or at least have a better idea.
By the end of the day, Sunday, when the Heat
end of the day, Sunday.
Pacers. Yeah. Huge. Obviously, a huge week. We're obviously Embiid back means not just is this game like important because like it's in more evenly matched game, but we're gonna get to see if that is the 7-8 play-in game, how the Heat are going to defend Joel Embiid in a 1-game situation like that, and how this defense can hold up. Because obviously it's not just like going to be Bam guards him, but the way this defense is played, as we've said for the last 2 months, the Heat, I think the concern is always, do they have the size to handle a guy like Embiid or Jokic, or they've done a good job against Giannis over the years, but those kind of traditional big giant centers have posed problems for the Heat at times. But again, there's the way they've played over the last couple months.
2 months, yeah.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see, 1, how much Embiid plays, and then 2, how the Heat's defense holds up against a Sixers team that, when Embiid was out there, was really, really good. They were right in that top tier of the East. I think
for sure.
Not quite Boston or Milwaukee, but they were kind of like the
top 4.
Yeah, they were like kind of number 3. I felt like in the pecking order.
Yeah, no, it's a good test. I mean, all these games this week really are good tests for the Heat. Starting with the Knicks game in Philly, and then Houston on a back-to-back. That's not easy. Houston's been playing well. They're playing for something. Kind of get to that try to pass Golden State for a 10th spot in the West. Then you face Indy, like we said on Sunday.
Yeah.
There are a lot of tough games, and I entered the week saying like they have to go probably 3-1 during this week, which is not going to be easy. But they already won the first one, so you just can't, if you're trying to make up ground on Indy, which has a pretty easy schedule to close the season. you can't keep going 500. You can't just go 2-2 and then expect to make up ground. That's just not going to happen. So the Heat, this is a nice win, but it doesn't mean anything if they lose 2 of the next 3. That's not going to, that they're probably still going to be 7th at that point. So they have to continue to win, stack up wins. Again, they put themselves in this position, and now they have to find their way out if they want to avoid the play-in.
Mm-hmm. All right, I think we can close things out there unless you have. I don't know. The Panthers are struggling. I don't know if we need to do a Panthers minute.
Marlins are struggling. How about
the
that?
Marlins are struggling. March Madness I've enjoyed, but I don't know if you've watched very much. And I don't know.
I watched more
individual
women's basketball than men's basketball during March, I would say.
I think that's been the case for a lot of I guess like casual college basketball fans.
Calling me casual?
I'm calling you a casual college basketball fan.
That's fine. I admit to that. That's probably even like generous.
Right? I think those Thursday, Friday. That's still for a lot of people. It's just the first, the first days of the tournament. That's still just for a lot of people the day where you just watch men's college basketball all day. Obviously, people were locked in. I think to Iowa, LSU in a way that they weren't for, Purdue, Tennessee, which was a great game. Or
NC State Duke.
NC State Duke, which was also a good game. I enjoyed that very much. DJ Burns, future Heat.
Is he related to Zach Randolph? Is that I keep trying to.
DJ Burns, future Dolphin. Did you see the buzz with him? Is that like NFL scouts are like, why don't you try playing left tackle?
Yeah, I saw. Is that real? Is that like? Was that? I saw an April Fool, so I was like, is this a joke?
That was like real NFL reporters putting it out there.
Really? Wow.
One of my favorite things that happens is when, usually it's almost always tight ends, but like I love when a really fun college basketball, like undersized power forward,
Jimmy Graham,
tight end. Yeah. Jimmy Graham obviously is the best case scenario. Rico Gathers.
Yeah, Antonio Gates.
Yeah, Antonio Gates. Rico Gathers played for, I think he might still be in the NFL. He was on the Cowboys for a little bit. He was a Baylor power forward. The one guy I always wanted to see do that didn't was Florida power forward Patrick Young. I always thought
Patrick Young.
Really good for that.
That's a good one.
But it's almost always tight ends. I guess Julius Peppers was
Julius Peppers, yeah. Was he in college? Did he play in college?
He played football in college too, I think. So
how about Norchad? He can be a tight end. He's big.
Norchad, yeah, he's got that same. You want like a jacked power forward. DJ Burns going to left tackle would be like I can't think of when that has happened.
Yeah, that's a weird transition. You're right. Usually it's to tight end for sure.
Yeah, tight end, maybe defensive end. I guess there's probably been a couple, but
I remember watching Jimmy Graham play in college. Like I knew him as a basketball player. And then he just only played, I think, one year.
One year of football in Miami, I think. Yeah.
He wasn't very good. I think he had
a pretty good basketball player.
He was decent. Yeah, he was a decent college basketball. But you could tell.
I definitely saw him play like when they would come up to Maryland a couple of times. He was like Jack McClinton.
Yeah, I remember Jack.
Hated Jack McClinton. He always killed the Terps from Baltimore, though.
Talk about a streaky scorer, Jack McClinton.
Never got a shot in the NBA, I don't think.
No, I don't think so. No. He might have been on the Heat summer. For some reason, I feel like he might have been on the Heat summer league team one year, like when he first got out.
That sounds right. College. I saw Isaiah Wong getting some playing time. In Indiana, right? That's I think he's.
Yeah, he's with the Pacers. Right? He's on two.
I believe for most of the year.
Yeah, he's been in the G League for most of the year, but he's had some NBA time with them. So maybe we'll see him Sunday against the Heat.
All right, we can close things out there. You can follow Anthony on Twitter at Anthony_Chang. Follow me on Twitter at DBWilson2. We will be back next week, and as Anthony said, we'll probably have a much better idea especially they could be down to, depending when we record next week, they'll be down to their last couple of games here. So we might like literally know, I guess, where the Heat are locked into by then, but. Certainly, we'll have a very good idea of whether you will be spending a play-in game here in Miami or hiking up to Philly for a night and a quick turnaround, or
getting a week off. That would be nice.
Getting a week off, yeah, that would be nice for you. All right, thanks again for listening. We'll talk to you guys next week.